As you could see on my screen, I have my firewalls on. Right, here's my firewall on. I also have my primary domain controller only on. I don't need the other one. Here it is. And as you could see, I'm showing you here what are the parameters it has. These are the IP address. It is a DNS server, obviously. And actually, a little bit below, I'm showing you that after NS lookup Google, I'm able, using this as a DNS, to get there. And as well as I see the IP address, IP version 6, and once again, that's me as a DNS server. So far, I guess so good. Everybody understands this, and you should have the same so far. Well, of course, with the backup domain controller, you're gonna have a backup of your DNS and Active Directory. I'm not starting in just because I want to be a little bit more free of the CPU and RAM. Now, the next thing is I started only one of this Apache web servers, which is in a DMZ, and I tried the same. You remember my local host, it shows the name. We said when we try it as a load balancer, it should be actually the same, but we're doing it just to see how the load balancing mechanism will work, and that will be done the next week, obviously. And I'm trying to access Wikipedia, as you see, and it doesn't allow me to do. As well as I tried the same way to see my DNS server, right? And I did dig command. As you see, it doesn't say anything, right? I'll try to ping 8.8.8. It doesn't work, as you see. And my IP address, that's a way to execute the command. Actually, you need to execute it in full APAS, and you need to know what's the name of the interface. It will show you the parameters only on the interface. Here it is. That's what I'm expecting, right? And here it is once again, my thing here. So if I actually do here also to show the routing, well, need to remove this thing. After, here it is, and it will show me the default route, which apparently the default gateway, which everyone knows, that's the firewall. So if I try ping 8.8.8, even by IP address, as you see, guys, outside world is not available. And if I also try to ping my firewall, which is my default gateway, right? See the same thing. It doesn't really work. Now the idea is that any other interface created on pfsense as well as OpenSense, they act the same. Any other interface created on the pfsense or OpenSense other than local area network, as a matter of fact, will be absolutely stopped. There will be no ability to access anything else, even Google, as you could see. So you need to work on the rules here, so you guys to be able to do something like accessing something. Let's open the firewall from inside. The same way, if you remember, guys, you created also you have created VLANs. If the VLANs would have worked there, well, the same thing, you won't be able from the VLANs to access directly. You need to do the same. Only the LAN by itself will be allowed to access, and actually only from LAN you should be able to access the interface of your firewall, as I see at the moment, by default. So let's see what we could do. Now when we go firewall and when we go rules, that's where we will start creating our rules. You see my one, there is no rules there. My DMZ as well. If I go to the LAN though, I will see a couple of rules, and this one, anti-lockout rule, means that I'm available to access the graphical interface from HTTP and the web interface, what I'm seeing at the moment, the dashboard from the HTTPS and HTTP. And basically, if you remember, I set that specifically, I said that I want to access it through HTTPS. And basically, if I try to do HTTP, it will be forwarded to HTTPS, right? So that's what the until lockout rule is. And as you see, I don't have this icon of delete as I have with the others, right? So I have delete here. That would be to disable. If I don't want to delete the rule, just to disable execution of it. This is to copy it. That's very useful because then you don't need to write it down from the beginning. And if you would like to edit it, that's the one. Now if you would like to move one up or down, well, this is the anchor about. You click on it and you move it up and down. Most of the time you need to save after this, and sometimes actually you might need to apply again, additionally to apply. So my LAN, the other two rules on my LANs are actually which allows everything to be internet to be accessed. That's the rule here, and actually, as you see, it's allowed by IP version 6 as well, not only to IP version 4. And that's all what I'm seeing here. Now what I want at the moment on DMZ, I want to be able apparently to have internet, right? Now to have internet you have a couple of things, well, more than couple. First of all, you need DNS, right? You need something which will resolve your name to an IP address. So you need to decide which DNS server you're going to use. In my case, as I mentioned, I will, if you remember, I already did it here. If I come to my this guy here, and if I open wired connection, wired settings, and go to IP version 4 here. Remember, I did it manually, right? So I put it here. That's my primary domain controller's IP address. That's my secondary domain controller. It's not on at the moment, and just in case, I have here my default gateway. Okay, so these are the ones which I'm going to access. So I want now to create a rule which to allow me to access DNS on my primary domain controller. Now normally you might choose an external IP address like 8.8.8.8, right? The well-known Google public IP address. You might use the 9.9.9.9. These are third parties, you might use, and most of the time when you start when you have an internet connection from your ISP, they will provide you with 2 or 3, even sometimes 4 DNS servers which are their own. I really suggest you guys, if you would like to hire what you're doing, well, use your own DNS server. Actually, you might create your own DNS server somewhere in the cloud as well. No problem. If you have cloud space, you could create your own DNS server there as well. We will see this next week when we will use one for free, and I'll show you how to create. Well, I'm not going to show you how to create, but I'll show you where it is possible to create. Like, I'll give you some examples. Your own. So basically, in my case, I'm deciding to use my DNS server, which is in my local area network. Now, in terms of security, that will open a hole. We set and let's demonstrate this. If I open my primary domain controller, and if here on my in my browser, if I try to go and access, if I try and go to access my web server, there will be no problem. So if I do here http:// and the IP address I'll put, because I'm not sure about the resolution at the moment, 192.168.2.50. that's what my Apache server, which is on the other side, I showed you. There will be no problem, guys. You see, HTTP is allowed. If I try to ping it, so if I try to ping this one, so I'll say CLS here, if I try to ping and I do 192.168.2.50, see, even the ping is allowed. So many things are allowed, and we could check this with many tools. You could use nmap and you could see what ports exactly are open, which direction, and so on and so forth, as well as which protocol, TCP, UDP, and so on and so forth. Now, it is not the same though. It is not the same with this guy. We set in DMZ, because it's a different interface created out of it's not the same like a local area network. Basically what's going on here is everything stops. So if I try now to ping from here, if I try to ping my primary domain controller, I'm not gonna be able. If I would have an application server, let's say HTTP server there, I won't be able to access it at all. Everything is locked there, guys. Everything. I'm telling you now, by default is locked. So I need to, if I want to use the DNS on this server, I need to open it for myself. I need to say something in the rules so to allow from outside, from DNS to open it. Now that's not a good practice. We said keep the DMZ closed as much as possible towards LAN. In the general case, you're not supposed to connect both in any, so you're not supposed to open any port on LAN towards DMZ. But I'm gonna demonstrate this you just to see how it is, as well as if you are with me on the final exam, on the final project, I intentionally will ask you to do this so you guys to be able to attack from once you get a possession of the be able to access the DMZ. From there you to sneak into LAN. So basically what you need to do is to go to the DMZ interface and you need to add the rule. Now any firewall, as far as you remember from the other firewalls when we were talking about, the position of the rule is very important. If a rule is before another rule and if it is executed, well, by default the other one will be skipped afterwards, right? Because the top outmost one will be used. So position is important. That's why you have two arrows. If you would have several already created, when you click the up arrow, it will put it in above a rule, and if you use the other one, it will put the new rule below the rule. If you would like to delete it, obviously, if you would like to save it, same. Separator is very useful. You could create group of and separate them. You could put actually physically on the top something which explains what this group of rules is about, or is about. So just an explanatory thing which you could combine like that with separators. So I'm going to create a rule now. I'll click add. Now we mentioned already you have three, one pass and two deny rules. This is the way most of the administrators are working. We said the explicit deny is what most of the network and firewall administrator choose to work with, because the explicit deny, as like here, means nothing is accessible, both directions. And once again, don't forget, always we speak in any internet communication, any networking communication, firewall of course, in and out. It's not only one. You might not be able to get something because in is okay, well, out is okay, but in is not okay. So that's the reason. So you need to be both directions okay, so to get the thing. Now we'll keep pinging DNS, pinging the server. We'll keep it without ICMP, but I'll show you how to do ICMP. Now getting back to the actions, pass obviously allows something. Now blocking and reject are two different things. So block will block it and won't give you any explanation that there is a block. So that means if you let's say do the command trace route and you're trying to trace route the path from your station to, let's say to Google, and there will be up to 30 hops, there will be up to 30 router, it will follow this, right? Now at certain point though it will you might not see, some of them might be skipped, and that's because the system administrator blocked the ping, meaning there will be no answer. Now if the system administrator reject in that case, there will be a kind of an answer which will say, I'm blocked. So most of the time, when you expose and do rules exposed to the outside world, you use the block. You don't want people to see what's going on. But when you do it internally, and especially for your purposes, for troubleshooting, you want to reject because you would like to see a message. And in 1 year, you might, there will be million of rules. So you might not remember that there is something there. So, you need to have at least something to say, no, I'm just locked at the moment. I exist, but I'm locked. That's what we'll say. Okay, so that's the thing. That's the action. Obviously, we'll choose pass here. Now, the interface, whenever you are on which interface you are, it will be shown. But from here, you might change. I might go to LAN if I want to. Now, if I want to allow the ping, IP version 4 address family, I could choose. That's good. And as you see, I could choose IPv6 and I could choose both of them. But I'll work with only IPv4. If I go a little bit below, now the protocol is not good. You see, there are many protocols you could use. TCP, UDP, TCP, UDP in some cases. In my case, if I would like to allow the ping, which one I need to use? The icmp. Okay. I need to use the icmp. And if you see here, there are many subtypes of icmp. See, there are a lot. Well, I'm going to use any for all of them because I don't want to get into too much in trouble. Now, source and destination are the most important part of the rule. Now, you need to say what is the source and where is the destination. Just to remind you guys, from the standpoint of TCP/IP model or OSI model or the combined model, doesn't really matter how many layers you're gonna have and how networking layers you're gonna have and how you're gonna call them. The important thing is that whenever you're gonna, you know that there are ports on which the application works. They might work in one port, they might work in several ports, they might work in well-known ports, they might work in ports you just created for them. Doesn't really matter. Also, it's very important to say what will be the protocol on which they will be using. So TCP, UDP, something else, or both of them, TCP and UDP. In our case, will be ICMP, as we said, for this particular case. Now, but the destination port always, guys, is the default one, is the well-known port. If I'm gonna allow ping, well, there is no port for ping, right? But if I'm gonna allow, let's say SSH is 22. If I'm gonna allow, and that's TCP. If I'm gonna allow HTTP, that will be AT TCP. 443 for HTTPS, TCP again. If it will be DNS, okay, will be 53 TCP and UDP most of the time. You might use only TCP, but it's good to add the UDP as well. So there are a couple of things here. First of all, you don't want to open networks, and what I mean about this is, you see, if I click here, anywhere it says, doesn't matter, source, destination, you see I have single host or alias, I have network, I have other one address, and so on and so forth. Now here you guys want to be absolutely minimalistic. If you could say just for a specific host, so then you choose an IP address. So you want, in other words, you want to make the attacking surface as small as possible, because you're going to open something, you will create a hole, okay, but you want to do it as smaller as possible, right? That's one of the rules to follow, and that's the security rule. Another thing is same for the ports, right? Same for the protocols. If you don't need UDP, don't use UDP. Choose only TCP. If you don't need the full network, sometimes you need it, well, choose only the IP address, okay? And so on and so forth. Any is something you're going to use just in the last case scenario, right? Or for a specific purposes, of course. So it's always better to say that specific source will do something. So I would say single host or alias, because I want only one single host to be, and now here in the source port it will be available, otherwise it is not. And I'm gonna put here 192.168.2.50. Only my www1 server, by the way, www2 has a 192.168.2.100 address. Okay, so only this server I want to be able to do whatever I want to do. So that's the source. Now the destination, I I don't want to choose any. I could again choose only single host. I could choose a network. If I choose a network, I need to provide, apparently here I need to provide the CIDR, right? Now in my case, I could choose single host and alias again. Now it's very interesting to use LANnet, LANnet, DMZ. So if I choose LANnet, anything what's in LAN will be automatically done. Okay, well again I'm gonna try with single host and alias, and I'm gonna put here 192.168.1.50, and my BDC has 192.168.100. Okay, now description, it's always good idea to do a description. You say www1, it's up to you what you're gonna say. That's what I'm gonna say. www1 to to primary domain controller, and I'm gonna say for DNS resolve. Okay, so so in that case I will know that I want from W1, from my first Apache server, to go to primary DNS, so in terms to get a DNS resolution. That's what I know. And I'm gonna say I don't need to do anything anymore here. I'm gonna say save, and I need to apply the changes. I see the rule, obviously, right? So basically I could open now. Well, I still cannot do anything because it's only the DNS, right? It's oh no, it's a ping. So in my case I could do now. Yeah, let me come here. Let's try to ping it again, right? So let's try to ping this guy again. Ping, and as you see now, the ping propagates, right? It goes. Now I told you guys it's not a good rule. I would suggest, especially from DMZ to to internal, if you don't need it, don't start ping. If you don't really need it, or if you need it, start it and afterwards stop it. Now most of the rules you might say from what time to what time they are available. They could be recurring and so on and so forth. That's for all the firewalls you could do this type of thing, right? So let's go and see how we could allow the DNS now. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna open this again, and simply I would just copy the rule. So I'm gonna come here and I'll click on that one, and I'll copy the rule. So far I have no, I'm not really interested where will be my DNS and so on and so forth. So it might be up the ping, it might be below that. They're not related, so I don't care. So we want to pass. Interface will be DMZ. Address family will be IP version 4. Well, the protocol will be TCP and UDP. We said DNS, it works on TCP. If TCP is taken, it goes to UDP. So it's always better to get this one. Now, single host and alias, again, I'm going to choose the same way it was. Okay. Well, I made a mistake with the other rule. I'll change it after this, because it was not for resolution, it was for ICMP, it was for ping, right? So this one will be okay. And then I'm gonna choose here, well, this one I'm gonna leave it because that's what it is. That's the rule. Now there is something we could do here a little bit more. I could click on display advanced, and I'm gonna go a little bit below, and I'm gonna see here something which says, here's the schedule. You see there is a schedule. You might play with the schedule. Well, for me at the moment though, it's more interesting the gateway. Now if I click on this thing, you see there are two gateways. One is the default one, the other one is the one gateway. Now the simple rule of choosing them is, if you would like to do something with internet, you choose the one. If you would like to choose something internally, you choose default. So I'm gonna leave the default now, okay, because that's my DNS. I would like from my DMZ, I would like to have access to the DNS server within LAN, so it's internal thing. So I'm gonna leave default. If I wanted to get DNS from 8.8.8 or from my service provider, I should have chosen then the one. Okay, so I'm done with this. I'll save the rule and I'll apply the change. I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna move it up. So I'm gonna click here on this guy and I'm gonna just move it up. Here it is. If I would like to create a separator, I'll click the separator, and I'm gonna call this separator basic rules, but you could call it wherever you need to. I'll click save, and then actually I could move it on the top. So this is my basic rules, okay, and then I could create something else. I could create another separator, and I could call it internet rules, let's say. I'm gonna save it, and I'm gonna leave it here. So some rules I'm gonna put at the bottom, right? The other thing what I want to show you is how to change the one which the icmp one, right? This is the icmp. I'll click here on the pen or pencil, whatever it is. Actually I need to save this rule. I need to save this separator, apply the changes, so both separators now are saved. Now I could click on this one, as I said, and actually I'm gonna come here a little bit below, and I need to change this to ping, for ping, right? And I'm gonna say save. And something else which I want to show you here is if I would like to disable, not delete the rule, obviously I could click here on this one, and I'm gonna disable it now, right? I'm gonna apply the changes, and if I come again to this guy here and just try to ping again as I ping, well, the ping still is now, it's getting back now to there. So what I'm gonna do next is copying this rule. I have already DNS. This DNS won't help me anything at the moment, right? I could check it. I could check this DNS now. What I could do is come in here, and I could repeat the dig command, right? The dig command, which is kind of enhanced NS lookup command for Linux. And now you see, it's finding out my server, right? Interestingly, it's finding out the server, and actually this server, because already knows about Google, it's finding out the Google as well, right? So if I try to ping google.com now, see, it knows the Google, but it doesn't really start pinging anything, because at the moment something else maybe is missing there, right? So something else is missing, and we'll see how to resolve this thing too. So something else we need to have there, obviously we need to have access to port 443 and port 80. It doesn't work only, most of the pages you could actually configure your browser to your firewall to allow only HTTPS, but still you're gonna need from time to time HTTP. So most of the time you need to configure HTTP as well. So let's see how to do this. I'm gonna go here to this guy, to the PDC. And I'm gonna go here, and I will create now in the firewall, I'm gonna copy this rule, okay? That would be a pass rule in the DMZ IP version 4. Now I don't need TCP UDP, I need only TCP. That's port 443 and 80, right? Now let's do something else though. Let's create an alias, and let's see what the alias means. So I'm gonna click here on the firewall, and I'm gonna say aliases. So I'm gonna disregard what I just did. Now you see, you have aliases you could create on IP, you have ports, URLs, and so on and so forth. Now I'm gonna create on the ports, and you get the idea for all of them, okay? So I'm gonna click on the ports, and then I'll click add, okay? Now I need to call it, it says the name on the alias may only consist of letter A, Z, and blah blah, and underscore, okay, and digits. So what I'm gonna say for this one is internet underscore access, or actually I could do it shorter, I could say web, right? And description, allow internet access from the DMZ, and internet most probably should be with capital letter. And now I need to choose the ports, right? I need to choose wherever I've chosen already, it's the ports, but if I need to change something, I could change it. Now, the first port will be obviously 80, right? And I'm gonna say here HTTP. And I'm gonna add a port, and the next one will be 443, and I'm gonna put here HTTPS, right? And I'm gonna say save. Now, I could do this, and apply the changes. So, I might do this separately, right? But it will take me two rules. Instead of that, using the alias, I'm going to choose only one rule. Let's see how it will work. So I'm going to go to the firewall and the rules again, and I'll go to DMZ again. And what I will say now, I'm going to copy this rule as we started. Pass DMZ IP version 4. We said that will be only TCP, right? Now the single host the single host or alias, it says, yeah, that would be the host which will be accessing the internet. So that's the host, that's the 250. Now my default destination, actually I cannot use this one anymore because that's internal, right? So I need to say here, I need to say any. I don't have any other choice. Internet is everything, right? So I need to access any. Now the destination port though, here I need to choose HTTP first, create the rule, then duplicate the rule, create HTTPS, so 2 rules. Now what I'm gonna do though, I'm gonna come here where it says, I'm gonna come here and say other. Okay, I'll click here, now custom will be available. Give me just a sec. So as we said here, I need to choose something. So I'm gonna start writing now. Remember, I call it my alias web. So I'm gonna start writing down W here, and it will show me web. I'll click web, and that's if I have several. I could choose several or a range, and I could choose web as well. So now what I'm saying is apply this rule for the both ports. Okay, so that's what the alias is. You might do it for IP addresses, URLs, and so on and so forth. And it is very easy once created. If I need to add something more to this rule, I just go to the web and I add it, and that's all. Okay, it's very, very easy in that way. So I'm gonna say now it is www1 to internet for DNS for internet to internet. Now I need to go to the display advanced, and obviously I need to change that to 1, right? It won't work anymore with default, right? I need to come here and I need to change the default gateway to my 1 gateway. I'll say save. I apply the changes, and actually what I'm expecting, well, a ping most probably won't work either still, because the ping is not allowed, right? There is no ping allowed to outside. But now I could actually be able, so let's check the ping again. So I'm gonna come here, and you'll see the ping won't work because I never allowed the ping towards internet. Here it is. I don't allow it. I need to allow it the same way as edit, and we're gonna do it after, just to show you. So I'm gonna control C, even if I try by 8.8.8, right? So if I try the Google well-known, well, here it is by IP address. But if I try now to go to Google, to Wikipedia, here it is. Okay, Wikipedia, I'm accessing it, and obviously because I have DNS resolution, HTTPS, HTTP, everything is allowing me to access the internet page. So you see, it doesn't allow ping, but everything else is working. Okay, now if I would like to allow ping here, to be able to ping internet, not they to ping me, right? That's an important thing, right? So I'm gonna come here, and I'm gonna duplicate the same rule which I just opened. I'm gonna duplicate this rule, and this rule I'm gonna go a little bit below, and instead of TCP I'm gonna choose ICMP again, right? And now it will change everything. So this in part of the source and destination I'm gonna leave the same. I want only ping from this computer to internet, not anything else into this one. My default gateway will remain, so I'm gonna say to internet, and I'm gonna say ping, just to know that what the rule is, and the default gateway will remain the same. There are no more ports because obviously there are no ports in the ICMP. I'm gonna say save. I'll apply the changes, and actually this rule I'm gonna drag it. You see, I'm gonna that was the ping to internet. Okay, so these are internet rules. I might drag them and put them here and organize them like that, right? So it will be a little bit more better organized, I would say, right? So, and I need to save this, right? I need to say save and apply the changes. So you see now my rules are a little bit more well organized. And by the way, I could change here the color as well, right? I need to delete it and create a new one. See, if I create a new separator, I could actually choose a color, right? I could say no, this one is important one, right? So VIP, I could say VIP rules, right? I'm gonna save it. So you could change the color if you would like to be. Now, if you created it once, I think you need to delete and create it again. Okay. So this is let's check it now. Let's check the ping, and I'm gonna check to Google directly because we have resolution, and here it is. Okay, the ping is going. Now again, I don't need this rule, so what I'll do, I'll just go here, and as the other one, as this one, I'm gonna just I'm not gonna delete it. Well, if you say like that, so that means you need to click on a save. So you say stay on this page and you say save. Now it's okay, and then you again click on this one. So you just disable it and you could use it further. Okay. I don't see it disabled. I need to click again. Here it is. I'll apply the changes, and now if I go back and try to ping this thing as I did before, if I try to do it again, yeah, same thing.